Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Debbie Guy-Geesh, and welcome to my show called Get Real with Revenue Marketing. Twice a week, I like to pause. As marketers, we just kind of live this crazy, fast-paced life, and I like to be continually learning. So let's take a pause. Let's talk to somebody who's really unique and wonderful and just everything you'd want in a marketer, and let's just see what we can learn today. So I'm so happy to have as my guest today, Randy Taylor. Randy and I, oh gosh, we go way back. I don't know how many years it is, but let me tell you about Randy. He is a serial revenue marketer and a serial marketing operations professional. So he's been a marketer, he's been on the marketing ops side, he's seen it from so many different angles. So Randy, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
How
Glad to be
long
here.
have how long have we known each other?
I'm going to say at least 10 years.
Yeah, it just seems
At
like it
least.
just has been forever, hasn't it? I mean, I
Yeah.
remember the very first time I met you, I think you were over at Sage at the time. And
Lexus. I think it was Lexus. LexisNexis.
oh,
Yeah.
that's right,
Oh,
at
yeah, that's right.
LexisNexis.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And you were running at the time what was a very early marketing operations organization at LexisNexis. Well, tell us a little bit about your career. I mean, what has it been like to grow up as a marketing ops professional and also to be in marketing? What's been your career like?
Well, I think so. I've been doing this for more than 30 years, unfortunately. I guess I don't know if that's scary or not. But
Hey,
you
hey,
know, I
hey,
think
we're all throwing out those big numbers now, Randy, all of
oh, yeah.
us.
So, I think what's really been nice for me, and I'll kind of step back in a minute, but what nice for me is that the whole digital experience has become, sort of that culmination of everything that I've been working for, throughout my career. So, um, I started out in database marketing, direct marketing. I was doing it for both business consumer. I went into consulting for a while and did consulting on marketing automation at the early stages when it was really focused on the data part of it. I'm an introverted data geek type of person, but I also have a creative side. But it's all culminated into this. I'm just going to, call it marketing effectiveness, which is, maximizing the use of people, process, data analytics, and technology to help marketing, perform optimally and in the biggest case be a contributor, a direct measurable contributor to the business. So tying those business goals to what marketing can do and showing where marketing is making the contribution. So that's the most important thing for me.
Preach, brother, preach. Because
Yeah. So
it, it
I was going to say most recently I was running a global marketing organization. And so kind of had everything from end to end, all the content marketing, all the inbound, all the technology, everything was into me. And it was an interesting challenge and learning because it was sort of taking a piece of everything that I had done throughout my career and kind of pulling it all together and making it happen. So that was very exciting for
so
me.
so what was it like to step away from being in marketing ops only to actually running the whole marketing department?
A little scary because, like I said, I had done little bits of everything, in some form or fashion. The scary thing for me was, where do I break from some of the just ops directly, traditional things and bring in, the other parts of it. So, my challenge when I started there was, some of the traditional operation things, getting sales and marketing aligned and getting all the metrics and all that stuff set up. And, so that was right in my wheelhouse. The other part was, just building a content engine. Content marketing, inbound search, all that stuff was
Hmm.
very, very important for us to be successful. And we didn't really have it. So that was the scary thing for me because I'm not a writer per se when it comes to content and things like that. So pulling together the right people and the right resources to help drive that engine was uber important for us to be successful in in my time that I was there. So
And I love somebody that really has not been focused on something like content that you came in. And of course, everything's enabled by technology, right? You can have the best content in the world, but if nobody can find it or access it, then, really, really, what good is it? So, we talked about a whole bunch of things that we could talk about on the show today. And there's really three topics. If we have time, I'd like to cover. I definitely want to talk to you about the role that marketing ops plays during a merger and an acquisition. I'm seeing a lot of that these days. If we have time, I'd also like to talk about the impact of these flexible work environments as well. But let's start with the M&A activity. And I've seen horror stories happen with M&A activity within marketing. I've seen entire marketing departments just wiped out during an M&A activity. And so tell us, I mean, when you think about, evaluating, integrating, and maximizing data and tech stacks, how do you suggest people approach an M&A action?
Yeah, I think for one thing, and it's unfortunate, but in the business leaders that are in charge of running, the decision making for buying, company and things like that, don't always think about marketing at the level that it should be. You get involved and you have, some of your due diligence questions, but they're so superficial for, just the basics. I think the biggest challenge coming out of this from a marketing and a marketing ops team is just the business deciding to rush to integrate. It's just the overall arching, business decision that has significant impact on marketing. And you talked a little bit about resources. That's, I've done 5, 6, 7 M&As now at different companies in different aspects. And, the only part that marketing gets really engaged in, I mean, you can do your own, digging around on websites and content, things like that, but you get to see the resources that they have. You might get to see the money that they've been spending and where, and you get access to that high level data around the customer prospect base. So what's the funnel, and what do they have in queue for sales, and what do they have for customers? And it's real superficial. It's not the detail that they need. So that's why I say rush to integrate. I've been at a couple companies where they've wanted to have the acquired company's website down in 2 weeks, and it's just it's not a good thing, because there's so many aspects to consider, and you can't actually build a strategy around how to bring those two together until you get into after the acquisition. You really just can't. I mean, you can have the framework there, you just can't get it ready. So so what I look at is some of the first things that I have to do when we acquire a company, after you go through those basic due diligence things and decide to buy, is do that full inventory of what's their content, what are the tactics they've been using, what's the success if they can actually answer those questions, what is their messaging and how does that differ from us, what was the purpose of buying the company as part of it too. Is it just to add a product in? Does it fit into your market and industry or sector? If it doesn't, there's a whole nother aspect that you have to deal with from a strategy standpoint.
So just trying to understand how marketing works in that company,
Yeah.
right? All the levers, and just what is the function of marketing, and what are the activities that they do. You've got to kind of get the lay of the ground, lay of the land for that. Okay. So even before you get there, let me ask you about, so having done so many M&A activities, I think a lot of times people who don't have enough knowledge make the decisions, especially around timing, right? So like, you got to have the website redone in 2 weeks. It was something ridiculous like that, right? So have you worked in organizations where you were actually at the table as they were planning this, so that you could give guidance to timing, priority, or order?
Yes, in some cases, yeah. The most recent stuff, yes. I mean, I was part of the exec team that was going through it, so I had a lot more insight into things that I normally wouldn't have been able to get insight into. But there was just, there's some decisions, strategies that you just can't overcome.
Right.
And one of them is that rush. And
Yeah.
there's sometimes it's an ego thing. I'm not sure
Yeah.
exactly what the reason is for it that says, hey, we want to, basically eliminate the footprint of the other company as quickly as possible. And I think I can't say it's a, necessarily a bad strategy, but it is one that puts significant impact on marketing and
Yes.
the short-term performance of the two companies, after that acquisition. So
So
I've seen it happen, and it throws everything into chaos.
So, do you find that even if you have early participation, there are some things that are just going to come down and they're going to happen the way they're happen. And then once you have that full inventory, are there strategies where you can provide the answer that is requested, but yet not be fully there so that you can continue to do what you need to do for the integration and take a little bit longer?
Yeah, so in one of the most recent ones I did, the decision was they wanted within 3 or 4 weeks to have the other company's website completely eliminated. And so we said, hey, we'll do that, but we got to do these other things first. We have to do some inventory of their content. We got to see how they were using
Yeah,
website. And it
yeah.
came out that a good chunk of their business was managed through their website and their CMS. So it wasn't just
Mm.
marketing content stuff. They were managing their customer support. They were managing the delivery of content to customers. They were managing a lot of different things through that channel. So we couldn't just throw it away. We couldn't move everything over into our CMS and get rid of theirs and all that stuff. And so, you know, that once we were able to get in and show that, we were able to come up with a different strategy that said, we're going to keep
Good.
it open. We're going to use their CMS. We're going to keep everything intact. We're going to drop certain things that are, that overlap that we have, and we're just going to bring it into our website. So if somebody goes to the acquired company's domain, they'll still get to everything the way it is today. But if they come to Aderant, which is the company I work for, and then go into that product, then they could actually jump right into those products, right from our website. So it
Smart
wasn't
strategy. Yeah,
it
smart
wasn't a
strategy.
it wasn't even a lift and shift at that point. It was really more of a clean up and connect type of strategy. And so that allowed us to do that, and that allowed us to do a lot of things, but it also helped the support team because there was a tremendous amount of content cleanup that they needed to do from support, from a training and all that stuff, and get it into a new process. And it also gave them a lot of bandwidth to migrate the customers over into the customer support
So
world that existed.
let's create a framework for this. Let's say, for example, you're at an event somewhere and you sit down at the bar having a drink, and somebody sits next to you, and you get to chatting, and you find out this person runs an MO department, and he or she is about to go through an M&A activity. So what are the 3 things that you would tell them you absolutely positively got to look out for?
Well, I would say, I think I started out with just that inventory and what they have and how is it managed and all that stuff. Data is another one. You're going to have visibility into the basics, like I mentioned, but as soon as you get a chance, you've got to look at everything. How are they managing the data? What levels of data are they is being managed in there? Even basic things around the CRM. If Salesforce is a product that most people use nowadays, but everybody uses it a little differently. Everybody manages their process, their process from the top of the funnel to the bottom differently. And so making sure you understand how they're doing that. And then the third part about data is just which data is right. So if you have overlapping accounts and contacts, what's right? And I think that's the big challenge with trying to integrate too quickly, is you don't spend enough time evaluating it, because if you know, and if you're not prepared on your own side, like your data isn't clean, and then you bring other, you create this giant dirty database of
Yeah.
unknowns that make it hard to you know to understand what's going on in the business. That makes it hard to do measurements. It makes it hard to do
Data
everything. So
data is already a mess, and you have a chance to make it a much bigger mess if you
then,
don't do it right.
and I would say the third thing is Martech. I mean, Martech is gigantic, and I mean, if you think about the marketing ops role and how it's elevated through the process, for marketing, for revenue marketing and everything, it's become this animal that's blotting out the sun in marketing departments, and people are
Yeah.
using all kinds of technology. And so I think one of the things that I've found that's really important is you have to know your own world first and know that you have a roadmap for your own world, and what are the trigger points where you're going to have to swap out or change technology. Know what the challenges or the limitations or the gaps with your current technology is for the things you're trying to do and where you're going. And then when you acquire a company, they may actually have the solution for you. So it's, I read this as a quote. It's understanding what tech is best versus what the team uses best. So as part of that, you have to evaluate what the
That's a
team is
great,
using. What are they doing? Because if you just switch out or you do whatever,
yeah.
or you're bringing in a significant piece, set of team resources from the acquired company, and they don't even know how to use you're going to have a lot of challenges. So you
Yeah.
just have to evaluate, how do we do that? And sometimes you have to keep parallel systems going, so you keep the productivity going until you can train people into that. So it is that best tech. But then the other part is um, coming up with the strategy to take advantage of and or shed technology. So again, there's still a lot of things around data with that you have to consider. And then the last part about it is, and I think this is the most important part, there is hidden tech in a company
Yes, there
that
is. There's a whole
is
bunch. Yeah.
that may not be managed by marketing. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, one of the acquired companies we had a product, I forgot the name of it, but it was basically they were using it for push messaging through their product app to customers about updates, about training opportunities, about a bunch of different things. And that tool in itself is a tremendous tool for customer marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And so identifying that, and even if you don't own it, being able to figure out how does it fit into the marketing process, into the marketing strategy, and taking advantage of it, and also having an impact on how it's used, because not every company or not every department are great communicators when it from
Yeah.
from a written communication. So marketing being able to have an impact, a presence on those platforms to help make the messaging as clear and crisp, as impactful as possible, and actually have, even where it's not necessarily a marketing activity, having the right call to actions baked into that. So it's active efforts within those
Mm-hmm.
tools. So anyway, that's the hidden tech is huge.
So I agree. So one of the things I'm kind of picking up in the story that you're weaving is that for the right marketing operations professional and the right marketing operations department, there can be very great opportunities to improve a lot of things, maybe even the credibility of marketing through an M&A process. Let's
Mhm.
talk about that for a few minutes. What have you seen, or what do you think the opportunities are?
Well, I think there's a lot of, I think the big thing is keeping an open mind, because even if you're buying a smaller company, they may have been really efficient about certain things. And so there's processes, there's tools that they use. When I say tools, not necessarily technology tools they use to be effective in rolling out a product, go to market, things like that. And a great example again is one of the companies we acquired, in the last company I worked for. Um, our go-to-market for our new products or our product releases was good. I mean, it was a pretty substantial
Mm-hmm.
process. It was very focused on the customer side of it. And the challenge with that is there's a significant, benefit coming out of this new product or this product release. It almost ignoring the prospecting part of it, the new customer part. And so the acquired company had a really good product briefing process that was very good at explaining, what the product update was, why is it beneficial, who's it for, how can it be, and then it broke it down by team that would have contact with the customer prospect and how to talk about it to the to the different
Mm-hmm.
audiences. So
Mm-hmm.
down to sales to marketing, everything. So it really helped in preparation for the launch of it to help, for marketers. So it was almost like a product marketing effort that was used across a bunch of, different teams to help prepare them for that release. And that's something we didn't
That's a
have a
great
really good.
example. Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
that's a great
And again,
example of what you were saying. Keep an open mind. There may be a new piece of technology being used by the company that's being acquired that can really create a great benefit for the combined organization. That's a
Mhm.
great story.
Well, the other part too is processes. I mean, I'm a big process person, and I
I know
always say
you are.
I'm not what I have as a process is not always the best. It works for what we have, but again, keeping that open mind. People have different, other companies have different processes. Are there things that you can, adapt into yours or even replace what you're doing to become more efficient,
Mm-hmm.
more effective, communicate better, or whatever? And again, same thing there. I don't have all the answers. I've been doing this for 30 years, and every day I find something new that I'm like, oh wow, I never thought about that. So just
I guess that's one of the
leveraging that.
reasons I like tech, because I know I don't have to know everything, because you can't. It's impossible to
Exactly.
know everything, right? Right. So,
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
I love this idea of when you're coming into an M&A process, to not be scared by it, but to say, look, this is going to be an opportunity, right? And if and to keep an open mind, and to look for those ways that you can improve the efficiency and the effectiveness of marketing. Do you think that happens most of the time, or do politics get in the way more often than not?
I think there's positive intent, so I'm not going to be negative about it. But I think
Okay.
that uh, if a company really is well tuned in the M&A process, um, it's going to do the right thing. It may take a little bit of work to get there, but they're going to do the right thing. I worked in another company, and a couple different companies. One, their strategy for M&A was we're going to grow revenue within the first 90 days after acquisition. With that, it was do what's right and whatever makes sense was the strategy for every department that had a hand in it. So marketing had leeway
It's
into
really good.
keeping parallel process, into doing that
Mm-hmm.
slow migration of brand, things like that. Another one was we're only going to buy companies that are in our exact industry. So for us, it was we're just going to it's an easy shift from where their world to our world, and it was really just a resource cleanup, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, from a marketing standpoint, it was just remapping their product pricing, things like that into ours, and then maintaining some things from their product, and then everything else was operationally exactly the same. So those are the easy days. I would say the 90-day revenue strategy for me provided the most flexibility because it
Yes.
really allowed you to spend the amount of time into it. But it was also um, making the company nimble around that integration. So that's really important.
So one last question around M&A. You know, as long as you have been in marketing operations, Randy, you know it's still fairly a new function in organizations. Can you imagine marketing trying to participate in an M&A activity without a dedicated marketing operations team?
Uh, no, I mean I've seen it because I used to work in that world when there really wasn't that role.
Hmm.
And I think the challenge with that is that it just takes up so much time of existing marketing resources that their eye wanders away from, where there should be focused, for keeping the marketing product going and things like that. So, and so, so it's a resource starve at that
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, but marketing, yeah, I can't imagine, especially today,
Yeah. I can't
with
either. We're
just data and
spending,
technology.
yeah, there's so much money being spent on Martech, and it takes a lot of care and feeding and going through an M&A process without a dedicated marketing operations team, and actually, quite frankly, a fairly sophisticated marketing operations team as well. When I have seen those kinds of activities take place, marketing just kind of gets consumed by the IT department, right? And that's
Yeah.
not because they have a pure tech perspective, they don't understand the marketing aspects of it. So I've seen a lot of really bad decisions being made like that. So anyway,
Well,
okay.
when I say one last thing, you brought up a good point. There are other teams as part of that. I mean, IT is a big
Mm-hmm.
one, and having a good relationship with the finance team, with the IT team, is part of this. So you can talk through those decisions that might cross over is really, really important, and make sure
I
those
agree.
decisions are aligned. I mean, that's a big
Yeah,
one.
it is. It's
Um,
huge. It's huge. I mean, and that's one of the things that I see marketing operations organizations do so much better than marketing does is that they reach across the aisle, so to speak, right? Because they have to. There's no way marketing operations can do their job if they're not collaborating with IT, with sales ops, with so many different parts of the organization. I attended a webinar yesterday by the Executive Sales and Marketing Association, actually in Atlanta. And one of the speakers talked about the role of the CMO and how marketing touches so many different parts of the organization now. And I thought to myself, I want to map that out because I want to show how marketing and how marketing ops in particular is now becoming, not just a marketing only in the ivory tower, but really part of so many different other parts of the organization, right?
mhm.
So it's just a very, very, very different day. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a few minutes left, and I kind of sprang this on you, right, as we were in the green room waiting for the show to start. But I do like to be inspired, right? And I try to find something to inspire me every day. And sometimes it's as simple as I'm scrolling through TikTok, and then all of a sudden there's somebody up in my face telling me how great I am, right? It could be something as simple as that. But what inspires you, Randy?
Well, I would say, I always had this mantra, work to live versus live to work. I mean, unfortunately, you have to, continue to build your craft around that. For me, what inspires me is just, experiencing new cultures, new environments. So I love to travel. I love to go to different countries, but it's not when I do it, when I don't do it for just for the sights and scenes, right? I try to immerse when I go, so spend a little more time, talk to locals, integrate with the locals, things like that, and just to really understand
Mm-hmm.
some of those, their perspective on life, how they do things, what's different between what they do and what we do, and it sort of leads uh, into the business world because we're in a global business environment
Yeah.
now, regardless of whether you say you are or not, or actually dealing with you are, and so you're dealing with people that are coming from those different things. And for me, it's helped me tremendously, just kind of have that perspective that people think about things a different way. I mean, even from a
Yeah.
work standpoint, other
Mm-hmm.
countries, I mean, they work hard, but they also are very leisure and enjoy life a lot better. And I think that's for me is has made me look backwards and say, um, I always wanted to focus on the family things, looking at the things that we did together as an enjoyment, and continue to try to find those things. So again, I mean, I love my work, but I also really love to have those experiences. So that's a driver for me on pretty much everything.
I love that. And I, like you, when I travel, I also like to immerse. I don't want to do, 10 cities in 8 days. I'm not interested in that. And just getting to know the locals. And I agree with you, this idea that you meet people from different cultures and it helps you understand how to think differently. Because I always say that if I'm ever in a meeting, for example, from a business application, and everybody agrees with me like all the time, then we're in trouble, right? I need new thoughts. I need new ways of thinking. And it's people like that who inspire me as well. So
Yeah,
thank you, Randy. Thank you.
yeah,
And thank you for being on the show today.
I
And
appreciate it.
I
Yeah.
hope everybody learned a lot about M&A and kind of what to expect. And thank you for sharing your inspiration. So thanks again, Randy.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
And everybody, that's our show. As always, remember, it is a great day to be a revenue marketer, and we'll see everybody next time. See you later.